Is this thing on? Alright, this is going to be the first video for the channel that actually isn't scripted. So I hope I'm not super whining at any point during this video. I might make a lot of stopping and starting points just so that I can cut out some of the fluff. I wanted to take a look at the demo that I made and discuss some of the room design things, what I was trying to do with the room, and then maybe if there was something that didn't really work well with the way people were playing it, I could discuss that too. And maybe talk a little bit about the feedback in general. I'm probably not going to talk about the themes and feedback that much in this video. Probably what I'm going to do instead is make a follow-up video after this one that's just looking at all the feedback, going over the common themes in the feedback, and then as I'm doing it, show the gameplay changes based on the feedback. So this is mostly just going to be a look at the level design of the demo. But I figured I'd just go through each room and show off some of the things, talk about some of the things. This first room, a lot of people asked what the green button did. Obviously it started the music, so I was surprised that anyone would even ask, like they didn't have any idea. But the purpose of that green button is just start the timer. Each room in this game is supposed to test one mechanic. The mechanic tested here is climbing up walls. There's no real way to hurt yourself in this room, thankfully. I figure anyone who can find the up key can figure out how to solve this room. It's not too bad. There's a few different ways up that wall even. Here's a jump, the first jump in the game. You can do a running jump, you can do a standing jump, you can even you might be able to run off and grab the ledge. I didn't actually test that, but just a check to make sure people can figure out how to jump, because, you know, hitting up by itself will not get across this thing. This was supposed to be a room tutorial for climbing down. A lot of people, from what I could tell, just ran right off the edge and then just landed and took damage. And not only that, but a lot of people ran right off the edge, took damage, and didn't realize they took damage. So it was a very common theme I noticed when people were talking about feedback, is I didn't have a sound effect or anything, or like a visual effect to indicate that damage had been taken. I thought it would be enough to just see the health bar up there, but, you know, I didn't ever say it was a health bar. And if you weren't following along with my videos, you might not know. So, obviously there's no way to check whether people climbed down the correct intended way, or whether they just sailed off the cliff. So I'm not sorry that this room did damage if you just jumped straight off. But at the same time, you know, this is one of the very few rooms in the game that can actually kill you right now. Tutorial on a gate, very self-explanatory. You'll probably hit the button without even realizing it just by running into the room. But once you see the button, once you see the gate, I think no explanation is really needed. The real question is, how am I going to get scenarios in the game where what justifies the gate's presence? As rooms where you have to platform very quickly or something like that. There were a couple rooms that didn't test anything. They're just, you know, to get around the map a little bit. Right now we're just climbing to get to the next layer of rooms. I could have just done one long straightaway if I wanted to, I guess. This gap is a little bit wider than the gap earlier in the game. Excuse me. You're supposed to do a running jump, or alternatively you're supposed to just do a standing jump. But I made a last minute change before I released the game, where if you jump, if it's not pixel perfect, if you like descend even a single pixel, you enter the falling state and then have a landing animation, and that's super weird and janky. So what I did instead was I made it so gravity eventually starts affecting you during your jump, but it actually kind of starts working too soon. I need to make it check where you're eventually going to land in the jump, and then only do the gravity if that space is unoccupied, I guess, something like that. Anyway, this actually kind of like glitches a little bit, but it still works. It looks fine with a running jump, but it's kind of I didn't test that, so I feel kind of bad that I released the game like that without realizing that that last minute change affected that. This room is supposed to be a tutorial on thin ceilings, how you can run under them, but you can still climb up them. Basically, like being able to climb up a hole in an overhang, but not in front of a wall. And if you like look around a little bit, you'll see there's a little bit of interesting stuff about the way I program that. Like the principal like detect the ledge, which is kind of cool. I made it so you can't climb up here, so you're supposed to climb onto that ledge. But one thing I didn't notice, there's one of the bugs in the game right now. There's like 5 or 6 bugs that I'm aware of, maybe more. When you jump into a wall, you can grab the wall, and that works here. And depending on how you do it, there's a few different ways, and the prince will grab the wall. I'm surprised he's grabbing it like that, because I don't remember it being like that. I thought he was supposed to grab and ignore the blue thing. But maybe I'm playing on a different version than the one everyone else had. I think I am, actually. Yeah, I think I've changed a couple things from the demo even since I released it, so I should be playing on the demo that everyone else did. But whatever, most of the stuff is intact. Another thing a little janky about this, oh, it actually works here. It works fine. There's another spot later on where you can a small step over the connections one way but not the other way. Maybe they weren't connected perfectly or something like that. We'll look at it in that spot. Maybe I just fixed it and I forgot. But basically every corridor in Prince of Persia on DOS is like this, where it's kind of like you can run under it freely, but then there's like a thin floor that you can run across. But this is the only time it happened in my game. Rolling, no point in the game where you tested to be able to roll yet, but you know there's no real thing to do here besides just try various buttons, and I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Most people, no one really got stuck in that room from what I can tell, which is kind of cool. Most people found the roll on their own. A lot of jankiness in this room. This is one of the rooms I'm not really happy with. Let's show it back here. It should work back here, right? I haven't really, I haven't done this, but it should work. So right now, if you roll towards a ledge and hold the button, shift or whatever, you'll climb down the ledge. And if you don't hold the button, you'll just sail off. I had a lot of feedback of people telling me they wish they could choose whether you rolled off or whether you climbed down. It's like, oh, I'd love to have an option of like being able to do either one. And actually that option is already coded into the game. It exists. But a lot of people didn't realize it exists because they were doing some other control trying to activate it, and it wasn't intuitive. So it's like a lot of people were saying, oh, you should hold backward in order to be able to grab the ledge, or you should be able to hold down. I considered all of those, holding backward, holding down, and holding the button. And I kind of considered the button to be a grip button, but I guess that wasn't shared by most of the people who play this. No one knew what the button did, and I just kind of encouraged people to try it at various spots and see if it solved their issues. Technically, you can beat this game without ever hitting the button, but it does make certain things very easy. Like in this room, a lot of people complained about having to do, like how the run stops so kind of weirdly, kind of a long stop, and it's like, oh, I can't get directly underneath that thing. So you're supposed to just use small steps to be able to get that precision, but a lot of people didn't even realize small steps were a mechanic because they never hit the button. Anyway, as it is right now, you can actually choose whether or not you grip when you hang off an edge, which was not well communicated by just intuitive gameplay. But in this particular corridor, I added that mechanic of choosing for this room. Well, I wanted to, because I was playing it. Before I sent it to anyone else, I sent it to Bungus, and he's while he was trying to get through it quickly on like the second play, he was like, I wish I could just slide through here and then just like not grab the edge and just like slide straight off. And I was like, you know, that's a really good idea. And so I tried to code it so you could choose between sliding off and not sliding off. But the problem is, when you run and slide, this was out of my program, I did that one. When you run and slide here, if you just sailed off the edge, your falling hitbox would appear. As soon as you started falling, you would get your falling hitbox, and your falling hitbox would intersect with the, it would overlap with the ceiling there, and then it would just upwarp you. So in this spot, there's no way to do that without shrinking the falling hitbox. And unfortunately, the falling hitbox is used to determine the ledge grabbing stuff. So I'd have to either do a whole lot of recoding or just make it so in this scenario you always grab the ledge, which is what I just did because I didn't want a whole lot of effort. So in this context, there's not enough room for you to just start falling, so you just automatically grab. So a lot of people thought that you didn't have a choice between grabbing and not grabbing. But you do in other contexts, just not in this one. But retrospectively, thinking about it, it's like, if you want to just go off a ledge, I think 9 times out of 10, you'll just like run. You won't try to roll off that ledge. So like, it's like rolling towards a ledge grips it automatically every time, and then running towards the ledge just runs off. And for very specific scenarios like this, which probably won't be common, or even, I don't even know if there will be one in the game, I can't picture someone, I think I'll just be fine with it forcing you to hang down, because I can't picture someone like going into like seeing a tiny corridor and then seeing it opens into a chasm and then just like YOLOing through it. You know what I mean? I can't think a real person would ever do that and not knowing what's in there. This room was one of, I think, 2 run killers. A lot of people could not figure out what the hell to do in this room, like 3 run killers. I thought it was pretty simple, and I actually made it even easier before release. Initially, you had to hit the button to get the grip. And I kind of figured people would just figure that out. That's, you know, it's not a mechanic that's in Prince of Persia. You cannot do this jump in Prince of Persia. But there's no way to like do any of the other ways of getting up here. You can't even do the wall run to make it up there. It's a very deliberate height. And of course, you can get out pretty easily. So I kind of figured people did seem to instinctively get that you were supposed to jump at the wall. And once people get it, right before release, I made it so that merely jumping at the wall would automatically grab it, but it would only grab it for like a frame. And if you just hold up, you'll climb up. But a lot of people were confused. It's like, why do I let go right away? But a lot of people didn't even realize. But if you hold the button, you just hold ledges indefinitely, and that's a mechanic from Prince of Persia. But people who didn't play Prince of Persia, they didn't realize that was a mechanic. Um, so it's kind of weird if you didn't know that like uh, you hold it for so briefly. And it came up a couple times. It was suggested in feedback. I'm going to talk about this for just a second because it is an interesting kind of idea. Someone brought it up to me. It's like, why do we even have like this button for gripping? Like, what if you just gripped automatically, always, and you either hit down to like release or like up to climb up, and then And I was like, why is it not like that? And I'm still considering whether I want it to be like that. That's not a bad idea, but it would kind of invalidate a lot of the uses of this button. And it's like, I need this button to do certain things. I don't know what, but like if it only does like two things, it's going to be really weird. Um, but I'm considering that. Another thing is, I much prefer the idea that you do hit the button to grab ledges, and I do want it to be like somewhat precise. But right now, it just grabs it easily. It's very easy. I'll talk about that in the second to last room in the game. But it's just super simple to just easily climb up that wall, and it feels like it should take some kind of precision. So I kind of like the idea of like timing your shift press as you hit the wall. But right before I made the change, it was just hold shift as you hit the wall, so it required no precision at all. So I've never even had it a state requires some precision. But I like the idea of it requiring some precision the most, but I worry it's the least intuitive. Another room where you're just climbing. Wow, I said there'd be breaks in this, but I haven't actually like cut it at all yet. This room was intended to test a running jump plus a hang. I don't think you can do it with a standing jump plus a hang. I think I tested it and it didn't work. This room was a little bit cruel because if you miss the jump, um, you do take damage, fall damage. But people didn't really get stuck here, which made me happy. But it's just supposed to be like this is like the upper end of like gaps that you'll be asked to jump across. This is the last room I designed, and I designed it like 10 minutes before release, I swear to God. Not really, but like it was something like that. And I'm not really happy with it at all. There's a lot of like bugginess and a lot of weirdness about the design of this room. So what I was originally, I just had a room with a pink thing, and it's just like climb over, get past the pink thing, and then you just grab onto it and climb up, and then climb over, and then you're done. Um, and probably I should have still had that. I should have introduced a pink thing at some point previously to the level before doing this. A lot of people were trying to knock over the pink thing. I saw that at least twice. It's like, oh, well, I've just got to knock it over, and they couldn't figure out how to knock it over. No, it's not supposed to knock over. And you can kind of see it's a little buggy. You see how it's kind of tipping off the edge of this thing a little bit? I had it aligned with the edge of this thing, and what I noticed was you could climb onto the other side and let go, and you would actually stand on the edge of the platform. You would actually land on it. And that was kind of weird and jank. And so I moved it so you couldn't do that. And now it's kind of poking off the edge. So I just need to fix it. And then there's another bug here where if you're facing a wall and you hit down, you'll like turn around and climb down the wall. And it does it here because you're like close enough. So there's like a little bit of jankiness where you'll like up warp because you're suddenly intersecting with the pink thing. And whenever you're intersecting with an object right now, you just up warp. Um, what else? Oh yeah, in this little hole, you fall, you take damage, which was super cruel of me because there's a new mechanic that the game is testing here. It's not just the pink thing that it's testing, although the pink thing is fairly self-explanatory. If you hit up on the pink thing, you climb over and you hang down from the other side. It requires basically no explanation whatsoever. If people didn't know they could hang indefinitely, invariably they're gonna like climb over and then just fall and take damage. And this happened to like pretty much everyone from what I can tell. So like super sorry this took fall damage here. This was really bad by me. Very bad game design. I should have designed this room in some way that this was not a painful fall, or maybe I should have just had infinite health for the fucking tutorial. But what you're supposed to do here, what the room is actually testing, is whether you can find the jump off walls mechanic, because there's no other way across this wall other than to just jump off of it. But if you don't know you can hang indefinitely, you've got like a few frames to figure out that's a thing before you like fall and take damage. So like I hope to God people found that you could hang indefinitely by holding the button. Most people figured it out. A couple people didn't and required like an explanation. And sorry for those people. This room was kind of jank. This room was a tiny run killer. Most people figured it out. People who have been following my Twitter. I don't think I made a video about this on the YouTube for Until My Death, but I did post about it a couple times on Twitter. No, I think it was on the YouTube, wasn't it? I don't remember. This is supposed to be like a run up walls kind of mechanic, but right now I'm very limited on what animations I have. So it's just a big jump animation wise. But the idea I thought was pretty pretty intuitive, and most people did get it for what it's worth. You just run towards the wall and you hit up right before you hit it, and then the character would do a Prince of Persia R1 style run up a wall, but you know, right now it's just a big jump. And a lot of people were complaining. It's like the button press was really like precise here. They were talking about like I don't get why this even needs to use space in the first place or shift in the first place. And what's kind of funny is that it actually doesn't require shift in the first place, like third space. It just works. You don't have to hit the button at all. The button's not part of this. You just hit up right before you touch the wall. And there's another little bit of jankiness here. If you like hit up, where do I show this off? During the running jump, there's like the pre-jump frames, and then the during jump frames, and then the end frames. And if you're in the during jump frames and you hit a wall and if you're holding the button, actually even if you're not holding the button right now, you'll grab onto the wall, which obviously doesn't work here because this wall is really tall. But if you do it in the pre-jump frames, you get the big jump. So like there's two different things that can happen based on what happens when you hit the wall. And actually, even if you're at the end of the jump frames after you land, if you hit the wall, you still get the as though you were jumping. So I would like to make that into the big jump too, I guess. But actually, it makes most sense to just have it here on the front on the pre-jump frames. Anyway, it's kind of weird that the same command does multiple different things, but it's context dependent, so I figure, you know, it's all right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. This room was still testing the wall jump, I guess. I made it kind of weird. I could have just made it so you could do like a running jump, like the wall climb to get out of there, the little bottom pit. I made like a little lip so you could just do 2 climbs, but actually, like I just introduced the wall climb, so I could have made it smaller and made it so you get the wall climb to get out. Anyway, this is just a little proof of concept thing where it's just like, oh, well, you can use the wall jump to get through here. And actually, initially, a lot of people came into this room before I sent it to a few people. It wasn't just Bungus, but it was like a very small number. It was like 5. A lot of people were trying to get over that purple block instead of going under it. I thought it was pretty obvious you were supposed to go under it, but like obviously I know all the mechanics and stuff. A lot of people tried to go over it, so I added like a ceiling just so it's like, oh, you're not supposed to go over it. There's not even room to go over it. But I did leave a lip there. This was true even before I changed it before release, but even after release, it's still there. The reason I left that little lip that you can see there, just a little bit, you can see like the black on top of that block, on top of that purple block. Does my mouse drop on here? It does, this thing. It's a little hint. And from what I can tell, one person found this. If other people found it, they didn't mention it in their feedback. And no one mentioned it in the YouTube video, so like, you know, most people probably don't know about it. But if you run up that wall, you can grab that lip and climb up, and there's a little Easter egg. I guess I'll show it off. Here we go. Ta-da! It's Doraemon. This is going to be a mechanic that's going to be heavily featured in my game. Not like, oh, I guess a gameplay mechanic, not like a control mechanic, but like I'm going to basically have a dedicated NPC who hides around in levels, and you're going to be able to talk to him and get conversations out of him every time you see him. And, you know, this is the very early stages of the game, so I don't have any sort of like real way to do that yet, but I could, you know, at least represent it in my game. So shoutouts to the one guy who did find the Doraemon. If you want the lore on that Doraemon sprite is actually from Street Fighter 3. It's a sprite hidden in the Gil stage behind the background and can only be seen if you unload the background. Fun little fact. Cute little Doraemon sprite. Hope I don't get in trouble for releasing Doraemon in my demo. This room was very deliberately timed. I made a really fast gate. This was like a little foray for me. I had to figure out how to make this gate different from other gates without just making a new object. And it works. The gate goes up fast, it comes down fast, it doesn't stay open very long. So I can free tune my gates to different scenarios. This gate was very deliberately designed so that if you're just running, you won't make it through the gate. And the idea is that you can run and then slide and you'll make it through the gate. But if you watch me speedrun, you know you can actually just do 2 running jumps and still make it through the gate. But the run slide is nicely, perfectly timed. Ta-da! Pretty much anyone will get that on their first try if they know how to do it. It's not hard at all. Little demonstration here. It's mostly just like, can you, at this point in the game, it's just can you figure out how to get through things based on what you already know. But there is a new mechanic shown here, and it's that little lip. The lip itself, there's nothing about it. There's no like lip object or anything like that. But the character, when they're hanging from a ledge, I'm hitting up and I can't climb up. It detects if there's something in the way now. So, you know, this is a lip that you can grab onto and you can jump off of, but you can't actually climb up. And there'll probably be a bunch of those in the game somewhere or other. So you're supposed to, you can't get up to that blue thing. There's no way up there. You can't just like reach up and grab it or anything. It's too high up. You can't run up a wall or anything like that, where you can't run up the wall to grab the blue thing. But you can run up this wall and then jump to it. And I think that killed one person's run. It's like, I can't figure out how to get through here. I did get a lot of people asking me, like, I don't know how to get through this room. I don't know how to get through this room. And I didn't really reply to almost anyone giving for feedback yet. But if they were like, I got stuck here, I just told them how they were supposed to get through it so they could continue going through the game. Nothing really new in this room, just like testing mechanics. The one lament I have in this room is that it looks kind of cool, but it requires zero precision. Like I literally just hold up and forward, and it's like, wow, I'm getting through the whole room. You know what I mean? Like this is what I really didn't want in my game. I wanted some degree of precision, so I'm gonna make it so probably one that it requires the button, and two that it requires a somewhat precise press of the button, just so that it's like requires more input from the player than just like holding whatever direction you want to go into. But that was the last actual test of platforming in the game. And then you just run down the corridor, and then this is the button that stops the timer and gives you a nice little fanfare. Hope this was enlightening to watch. Feedback videos soon.